Take a deep breath, and let's hear a story about Mia, who traveled to Turkey searching for peace and ended up discovering a new piece of her heart. The morning light filtered through the curtains of Mia's Istanbul hotel room, casting golden patterns across the white bedsheets. She stretched languidly, feeling the soft cotton against her skin as the distant call to prayer floated through her half-open window. The gentle melody intertwined with the scent of fresh bread from the bakery below, creating a sensory symphony that made her smile. Mia closed her eyes and took a deep breath, allowing herself to fully inhabit this moment. So far from the hectic office in Chicago she had left behind. After a year of relentless deadlines and a painful breakup, Turkey had seemed like the perfect escape, somewhere different, somewhere healing. The travel blogs had promised magnificent architecture, delicious food, and breathtaking landscapes, but nothing had prepared her for how the colors would feel so much more vivid here. Even now, as she gazed out her window at the terracotta rooftops against the turquoise Bosphorus, she felt as though a filter had been lifted from her world, revealing hues she had forgotten existed. Downstairs in the small hotel lobby, the innkeeper's cat stretched lazily across an ottoman, orange fur glowing in the morning sun like burnished copper. The elderly woman behind the desk smiled at Mia, her eyes crinkling at the corners like folded silk, and gestured toward a table laden with breakfast. Fresh figs, olives glistening with oil, white cheese that crumbled at the touch, honey so golden it seemed to capture sunlight. These small treasures awakened Mia's appetite in a way she hadn't experienced in months. As she sipped the strong Turkish coffee, its rich aroma filling her senses, Mia noticed a man arranging tour brochures by the entrance. His movements were unhurried, each pamphlet placed with care, his demeanor reflecting the same peaceful rhythm that seemed to pulse through the old city itself. When he looked up, his eyes met hers with a quiet curiosity, and his smile formed slowly, like a sunrise breaking over the horizon. "First time in Turkey?" he asked, his English melodic with the gentle cadence of his homeland. Mia nodded, surprised by how her usual shyness seemed to have melted away in this new place. "Then you must allow me to show you Istanbul as only a local can," he continued. "My name is Emir, and I've spent my life learning the secrets of this city." His voice carried the warmth of afternoon sunlight, making each word feel like a comfortable blanket around her shoulders. Emir's tour began in the ancient streets of Sultanahmet, where history breathed through every stone. The Hagia Sophia rose before them, its massive dome seemingly suspended by nothing but light and faith. Inside, the hushed reverence of visitors created a peaceful backdrop to Emir's whispered explanations. Golden mosaics glimmered overhead, their tiny pieces catching and reflecting the soft glow of lamps below, creating an ethereal atmosphere that made Mia's heart expand with wonder. The Grand Bazaar enveloped them next in its labyrinthine embrace, a kaleidoscope of sensations that somehow never overwhelmed. Spice merchants offered pinches of sumac and cardamom, their aromas dancing together in the air. Artisans hammered delicate patterns into copper while silk vendors unfurled fabrics that flowed like water through Mia's fingers. Throughout it all, Emir moved with the confidence of someone who knew exactly where hidden treasures waited to be discovered. By late afternoon, they sat in a small tea house overlooking the water, legs pleasantly tired from wandering. The apple tea steamed in tulip-shaped glasses, sweet and comforting. Outside, seagulls wheeled lazily against a sky deepening toward twilight, their calls mingling with distant fairy horns. Mia felt the day's experiences settling into her memory, each moment a precious stone she could later turn over and examine in detail. "Tomorrow," Emir said, his voice gentle as the breeze from the sea, "we travel to Cappadocia, where the earth has sculpted dreams into stone." His hands moved expressively as he described the fairy chimneys and hidden cave churches. Mia found herself watching his fingers, noting their grace and strength, the way they seemed to shape the world as he spoke of it. Something warm and unexpected unfurled in her chest. That night, as Mia drifted toward sleep in her quiet room, the day's images floated behind her closed eyelids like a beautiful kaleidoscope. The blue of Emir's shirt against ancient stone walls, the feeling of cool marble beneath her palms at the mosque, the sweet burst of a perfectly ripe fig on her tongue. Her breathing deepened as she sank further into her pillows, gratitude flowing through her veins like honey. The journey to Cappadocia the next day passed in comfortable conversation, revealing shared interests in history, photography, and poetry. Mia found herself speaking about her life back home, about the creative dreams she had gradually set aside for practical concerns. Emir listened with genuine interest, his questions thoughtful and never intrusive. The Turkish countryside rolled past their train window, each pastoral scene a painting that needed no frame. When they arrived in the valley of otherworldly rock formations, twilight was softening all edges with its gentle brush. Their small hotel was carved directly into the stone, its rooms cool and peaceful as ancient caves. On the rooftop terrace, lanterns cast a golden glow across tables where travelers gathered to share stories of their journeys. Mia felt a sense of belonging she hadn't experienced in years. Under a canopy of stars more brilliant than any city dweller could imagine, Emir pointed out constellations with the same reverence he had shown for historical monuments. "My grandfather taught me that stars are the memories of those who came before us," he said softly. "When we look up, we are never truly alone." The night air carried the scent of wild thyme from the surrounding hills, and somewhere distant, someone played a stringed instrument whose notes seemed to resonate directly with Mia's heartbeat. Dawn arrived with the gentle whoosh of hot air balloons inflating across the valley. Mia stood transfixed at her window, watching the massive canvas shapes slowly rise into existence, their vibrant colors punctuating the soft lavender sky. Emir waited in the courtyard below, 2 cups of steaming tea in his hands and anticipation brightening his eyes. "Today," he said as he handed her a cup, "we will touch the sky." The wicker basket of the hot air balloon creaked gently as they climbed aboard with several other travelers. The pilot, a weathered man with laugh lines deeply etched around his eyes, nodded reassuringly as the tethers were released. The sensation of lifting, so gradual yet undeniable, made Mia's breath catch in her throat. The earth fell away beneath them in a patchwork of textures and colors, the fairy chimneys now miniature sculptures in a vast living museum. Higher they drifted, the morning air cool against their faces, the silence profound except for the occasional burst of flame heating the balloon. Dozens of other balloons dotted the sky around them like colorful planets in a strange, beautiful solar system. Emir stood close beside Mia, his presence solid and comforting as they floated through this dreamscape. When his hand found hers on the edge of the basket, neither acknowledged it directly, but neither pulled away. After landing, they explored underground cities carved by ancient peoples seeking refuge. The cool passageways and chambers told stories of ingenuity and resilience. Mia ran her fingers along walls smoothed by countless hands over centuries, feeling a profound connection to human history. Emir shared legends in his soothing voice, each tale unwinding like a soft thread connecting past to present, making time feel circular rather than linear. That afternoon, they sat sketching in a valley where erosion had created formations resembling animals and fantastic creatures. The sun warmed their shoulders, while a gentle breeze carried the scent of wild herbs. Mia's pencil moved across her page, capturing not just the shapes before her, but the feeling of this moment, this perfect, peaceful interlude in a life that had been running too fast for too long. When she looked up, she found Emir watching her with an expression that made her heart flutter. "You see the world differently," he said, gesturing toward her sketch. "Most tourists capture only what is obvious, but you find the hidden stories." His observation felt like a gift, an acknowledgement of something essential within her. Mia realized that here, thousands of miles from home, she felt truly seen for perhaps the first time. The realization was both frightening and exhilarating, like standing at the edge of something vast and beautiful. Days melted into one another as they continued their journey through Turkey's diverse landscapes. In Pamukkale, they waded through thermal pools that cascaded down white calcium terraces like frozen waterfalls. The warm mineral water lapped gently around their ankles, releasing tension Mia hadn't realized she was carrying. Nearby, ancient Greco-Roman ruins stood in silent testimony to civilizations long vanished, their columns framing perfect rectangles of blue sky. Along the turquoise coast, they sailed on a traditional wooden gullet, the boat's gentle rocking a lullaby that made afternoon naps irresistible. The Mediterranean stretched before them in impossible shades of blue, while steep cliffs draped with pine and cypress created perfect coves for swimming. At night, phosphorescent plankton illuminated the water with tiny blue stars, mirroring the constellations above. Mia felt herself unwinding day by day, her body remembering a natural rhythm long forgotten. In a small coastal village, they ate dinner at a family restaurant where the grandmother insisted they try every dish she had prepared. The table groaned under plates of mezes, grilled fish fragrant with lemon and herbs, vegetables glistening with olive oil. Each bite was a new discovery, flavors layered and distinct yet harmonious. The family's younger children practiced their English with Mia, their laughter bubbling like the clear spring water served in hammered copper cups. It was here, as they walked back along the moonlit harbor, that Emir first spoke of his dreams to create a cultural exchange program, bringing artists from around the world to experience Turkey's diverse traditions. His passion illuminated his features as he described his vision, hands gesturing expressively in the silver light. Mia found herself offering suggestions, her mind spinning with possibilities, her own long-dormant creative energy awakening in response to his enthusiasm. The next morning, however, Emir received a call that changed everything. His father had suffered a minor heart attack in their family village near the Black Sea. Though the doctors assured him the prognosis was good, Emir needed to return immediately. Standing in the hotel lobby, his face lined with worry, he apologized repeatedly for cutting their journey short. Mia felt a cold knot of disappointment forming in her stomach, yet understood completely. "I can continue on my own," she insisted, though the thought held little appeal now. "Your family needs you." Emir looked at her with such gratitude that it made her heart ache. Before leaving for the bus station, he pressed a small package into her hands, a journal bound in soft leather, its pages waiting to be filled. "Continue to see Turkey through your eyes," he said softly. "Perhaps one day you will share those pages with me." Without Emir, the following days felt strangely muted, as though someone had turned down the volume on the world. Mia continued to the places they had planned to visit, taking careful notes and sketches in the journal he had given her. She found herself writing not just descriptions of places, but letters to him, sharing observations she imagined would make him smile. Each evening, she checked her phone for messages, finding brief updates about his father's improving condition. One week later, Mia sat alone in a tea house in Istanbul, her journey having come full circle. The leather journal lay open before her, its pages now filled with writing, sketches, pressed flowers, and snippets of conversations overheard in marketplaces and village squares. Tomorrow she would board a plane back to Chicago, carrying more than souvenirs from her time in Turkey. She had rediscovered parts of herself long forgotten: her artist's eye, her capacity for wonder, her ability to connect with strangers across cultural divides. As she sipped her apple tea, watching the last rays of sunlight glint off the water, a familiar figure appeared in the tea house doorway. Emir stood scanning the room, his face lighting up when he spotted her. Mia's heart performed a complicated dance in her chest as he made his way to her table. "My father insisted I find you," he explained, slightly breathless. "He said I was a fool to let someone special disappear back across the ocean without at least saying a proper goodbye." They walked together along the Bosphorus as evening settled over the city, the first stars appearing overhead like shy messengers. Lights from Asia twinkled across the water, mirroring the European shore in perfect symmetry. Mia shared her journal, watching Emir's face as he turned the pages with reverent care, his smile deepening at her observations and drawings. When he reached the letters she had written him, he looked up with eyes that held questions and possibilities. "I have been thinking," he said carefully, closing the journal but keeping his hand resting on its cover, "about the cultural exchange program." "It needs someone with an artist's perspective, someone who can see Turkey through fresh eyes yet communicate its essence to others." The implied invitation hung in the air between them, delicate as spun sugar. Mia felt simultaneous waves of excitement and fear crash through her. Leave everything behind? Stay in this place that had awakened her soul? Create something meaningful with this man who had become so important in such a short time? They found a small restaurant overlooking the water, where they talked for hours about practical matters, visas, finances, logistics, and deeper questions about taking chances and following one's heart. The candle between them burned low, its flame reflecting in Emir's eyes each time he looked at her. Outside, the city continued its eternal rhythm, boats moving across the strait like thoughts crossing a dreamer's mind. Mia felt strangely calm despite the magnitude of what they were discussing. The next morning, standing at the airport departure gate, Mia made her decision. She would return to Chicago, not to resume her old life, but to tie up loose ends, apply for an extended visa, and pack only what truly mattered. Emir's face, hearing this, transformed with joy that required no translator. Their goodbye was temporary, a comma rather than a period at the end of their story. Their embrace held the warmth of recognition, two people who had found in each other reflections of their best selves. Three months later, Mia returned to Istanbul with 2 suitcases in boundless anticipation. The familiar scents and sounds of the city welcomed her like old friends as she navigated to the small apartment. she had rented in a neighborhood of artists and craftspeople. Her new studio had windows overlooking a courtyard where a gnarled olive tree grew, its silver-green leaves rustling with ancient wisdom. In this space, she would create illustrations for their cultural program and finally pursue her own art. Emir was waiting at the ferry dock where they had arranged to meet, his smile visible from a distance. Together they walked through streets now familiar, yet forever revealing new secrets. He showed her the small office space he had secured for their project, introducing her to local artists who had already expressed interest in participating. Their vision was taking shape, one conversation and connection at a time. Mia felt herself expanding into this new role, surprised by her own confidence. That evening, they sat on Mia's tiny balcony, sharing a simple meal of bread, cheese, olives, and wine. Lanterns hung from the railings cast a warm glow over their faces. Below, neighbors called gentle greetings to one another as they returned home for the evening. The muezzin's call to prayer rolled across the city in waves of sound that seemed to touch something ancient in Mia's spirit. She closed her eyes to fully absorb this moment of perfect contentment. The seasons changed, marking Mia's first year in Turkey with festivals, changes in light, new foods appearing at markets, different flowers blooming in hillside meadows. Their cultural program flourished, bringing musicians, painters, chefs, and writers to experience and interpret Turkish traditions. Each visiting artist saw something different, adding layers to Mia and Emir's own understanding of this complex country that had brought them together. Their partnership deepened through challenges and triumphs shared equally. On a crisp autumn evening, almost exactly 1 year after they first met, Emir took Mia to a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city's minarets and domes. As the sunset painted the sky in shades of rose and gold, he presented her with a small box containing a ring made by an artisan from his family's village. The gold held a pattern reminiscent of the decorative tiles they both loved, symbols of infinity woven together. His proposal was simple and heartfelt, spoken in both Turkish and English, bridging their worlds just as they had been doing all year. Mia's acceptance came as naturally as breathing, her hands steady as Emir slipped the ring onto her finger. They had created something beautiful together, not just their program, but a life that honored both their individual dreams and their shared vision. The journey that had begun as an escape had become a homecoming in the truest sense. As twilight deepened around them, stars appeared one by one, witnesses to promises spoken and unspoken. That night, falling asleep in Emir's arms in their shared apartment, Mia felt gratitude flow through her like the gentle current of the Bosphorus, constant, sustaining, connecting separate shores. Dreams came easily, carrying her on soft waves of contentment. The woman who had arrived in Turkey seeking only temporary peace had found a permanent harbor for her heart. As consciousness faded, her last thought was how sometimes We must travel far from home to discover where we truly belong. In that sweet space between wakefulness and sleep, Mia knew with perfect certainty that her heart had found its true north in this land of ancient stories and new beginnings. The morning would bring another day of creation and connection, challenges and joy. But for now, wrapped in the quiet darkness of Istanbul night, two souls rested peacefully, their breaths synchronized, their futures intertwined like the intricate patterns adorning the mosques and palaces of their beloved city. Outside, the same moon that had watched over countless lovers throughout human history shed its gentle light on terracotta rooftops and glittering water, on sleeping cats and midnight fishermen, on old stones and new dreams, an eternal witness to the miraculous ordinary magic of finding home in another's heart.